So I'm sure you guys have probably seen the news already, but of course, an absolutely ridiculous trade happened yesterday. We had Anthony Davis getting traded for Luka Doncic between the LA Lakers and the Dallas Mavericks. Now, this is a ridiculous trade, and I don't think anyone really saw it coming. I think even LeBron James didn't know it was happening himself. I think he found out over dinner, which is absolutely nuts, and it kind of really doesn't make a lot of sense. Let me know in the comments down below what your thoughts are with this trade. Who do you think has won and who do you think has lost with this trade? Obviously, you've got Luka going over to the Lakers with an aging LeBron James, who's probably not really got a huge amount of seasons left, although you never know with LeBron. But some people have also speculated whether this could mean LeBron James could leave the LA Lakers, go to Golden State, team up with Steph, and then the Lakers are left with Luka Doncic to build a team around. And it doesn't really make much sense for Dallas because, of course, you got AD. Yes, he can pair up with Kyrie Irving, but I don't really know whether that will work because AD hasn't really got a huge amount of minutes in him so far playing for the Lakers. But I guess we'll just have to wait and see how this actually plays out. And it's just been a really weird trade in general. And I think looking at all of the stuff, no one really saw it coming at all. And it was really unexpected. But we're going to go ahead and propose the trade over here. Just hit confirm. I had to go ahead and basically remove all trade logic because I don't think it would actually let me do it in the game. I know there was one other player from the Lakers going over to the Jazz, so he's gone and been added to that roster. We'll go ahead and just change up all of the trade settings so they are back to normal, so we can basically simulate what will actually happen with Luka Doncic on the LA Lakers. So we're going to go ahead and do that. As you can see, it's set up exactly as it should be. I had to go ahead and simulate February the 1st because it didn't have that one on, so we just force win for the LA Lakers. We'll go ahead and skip all the way to the end of the regular season to see what ends up happening. Let me know though in the comments down below what you think will happen with the two teams. Do you see it working out for the LA Lakers? Do you not see it working out? I know Luka Doncic on 2K is an absolute beast as winning a bunch of MVPs. So it's going to be interesting to see what he does on the Lakers, and it'll also be interesting to see how long LeBron actually stays in the game before he retires, because it could be the end of the season and then he's gone, he's off the Lakers, and you're just left with basically Luka Doncic to build the team around. But we're going to see what happens in this simulation. Actually have SGA winning himself the MVP award, which is interesting because usually on the first season of simulations it goes to Luka Doncic, but this time it's going to SGA. We got Alexandre Sarr getting himself Rookie of the Year, Naz Reid getting Sixth Man of the Year, Wemby of course Defensive Player of the Year, Eamon Thompson and Jokic there picking up the rest of the awards. We got the Knicks going 58 wins and the OKC 57, but we'll just skip through all of these all NBA teams. Anthony Davis is going to make the second team, so is LeBron James over there, but no Luka Doncic on any of these teams, which is really interesting to see. We'll just go ahead and get through these to see what ended up happening. If we go onto the standings to see how Luka has been playing, you can see he still averaged 29 points throughout the season, 9 rebounds and 8 assists, so a pretty good stat line. So I'm not too sure why he wasn't on the all NBA teams. The Lakers are going to win 48 games throughout the season, which does put them in the playoffs this time around. If we go on to the Dallas Mavericks, they are also going to be in the playoffs. The Mavericks are the 4th seed. The LA Lakers are going to be that 6th seed. We'll go ahead and simulate the play-in tournament to see what ends up happening. So we'll get through the first couple of games in the series to see exactly what ends up happening. We've got the LA Lakers going up 2-0 in their series. They're going to go 3 games up against Memphis, but Memphis are going to fight back to put it 3-1. Dallas also 3-1 in their series as the LA Lakers do manage to go ahead and beat the Memphis Grizzlies. Jaren Jackson Jr. scoring the most for them. LeBron James putting up 34. Doncic 15, 10, and 18. So he's not scoring a massive amount of points, but he is very balanced with the rebounds and assists. And at least he's still getting those triple doubles. Dallas are not making things easy. The Rockets 3-2 in this series, but Dallas are going to win that game 6 to put them through to the next round. Let's see how they're getting on. Anthony Davis 34 points as Kyrie puts up 18, 12, and 4. But AD looking like he's doing fairly well on that Dallas Mavericks team. So we'll go ahead and simulate the next 2 series. Dallas has got a very tough one against OKC over there. The Denver Nuggets against the LA Lakers, another tough series. So we're going to go ahead and see. I reckon both of the teams could potentially go out in these series, but let's see. LA Lakers going up 2-1 in theirs against Denver. Denver fighting back to put it at 2-2. Denver 3-2 over here. So we'll go ahead and simulate with the simcast because it's a must-win game for the LA Lakers. Can they go ahead and beat the Nuggets to stay alive in this series? They are at home, which is fairly decent, although the Nuggets are slightly running away with this one into the 4th quarter. And yeah, it's pretty much going to be a guaranteed win for the Nuggets 142 to 117 as the LA Lakers go out over there. What was going on? Doncic 19, 6 and 5. LeBron James 18, 5 and 7. We had Dalton over here putting up some big numbers in that game, 28, 2 and 3 for him. But Doncic, LeBron not scoring as many points as they probably should have for the team. Jokic putting up some good numbers, same with Jamal Murray and Aaron Gordon. They got a very well-rounded team. But Dallas, on the other hand, are up 3-2 in their series. So we'll simulate the next one, and they're going to go ahead and beat the OKC, the first seed in the Western Conference, are going to go out to this Dallas Mavericks team. Kyrie and AD both putting up 27 points. Klay Thompson as well, 21 points. So looking like a very strong team with those Dallas Mavericks players. But we got Denver up against Dallas now in this semifinals. Denver are going to take game 1, game 2 going to Dallas to tie up the series, and game 3 to put them up 2-1. They're going to take game 4 as well to put them up 3-1, and they're going to go ahead and get themselves into the finals in this very first season of the simulation. Kyrie Irving 33, 4 and 6 for him, winning Western Conference Finals MVP. Jalen Brunson on the other side, 42 points average across that series, which is absolutely ridiculous. But you got a Knicks Mavericks final, which is very, very interesting over here. You can see you've got fairly good matchups between everyone. AD up against Karl-Anthony Towns there at the center spot. So let's see what ends up happening in the finals. Can it be a win for the Mavericks in their first season with AD on the team, without Luka Doncic as well? But the Knicks are not going to make it easy for them. It's 2-2 in this series so far, 3-2 to the Mavericks. We'll go into the Simcast to see if they can close out this series over here. They are at home, so hopefully they can make the home court advantage count, although they are absolutely getting destroyed through that first quarter, and this is not looking like a close game at all. 139 to 107 as it's going to a game 7 for this finals. And again, it's not really looking that close. 106 to 85 over there. The Mavericks really let things slip as the Knicks win the championship. You got Karl-Anthony Towns getting finals MVP, putting up 23, 12 and 5 for him with some generous rounding. But let's see the box score in that final game. Brunson 37 points for him, Kyrie on 27, AD a little bit down on scoring, still getting 10 rebounds though, which isn't bad. So on that first season of the simulation, the Mavericks went all the way through to the finals. The LA Lakers though falling to the Denver Nuggets in that second round. But we'll go ahead and advance, get through all of the off seasons to see what else happens with Luka Doncic on the LA Lakers, and hopefully he can gel a little bit better come the second season and actually maybe get back up to MVP status, considering the game loves to give him so many MVP awards. And I mean, it's just been one off season and we've already had some big moves. Kyrie Irving has left the Dallas Mavericks. He's gone back to Brooklyn to join their team, which is really interesting, leaving AD basically on his own with this team. If we go and take a look at this Dallas Mavericks lineup, there isn't really a lot of good point guards on the team. You got Jaden Hardy there as the starting point guard for the team pretty much. AD there with two other decent centers, Gafford and Lively. So this is not really looking like a great team for the Mavericks. And on the flip side, the LA Lakers have just lost LeBron James. So they're going to build around Luka Doncic, and it's going to be interesting to see what they do without a real big man on their team. You can see you got Vanderbilt there as their best power forward. As center is going to be Steven Adams now on the LA Lakers, but they're going to have to find a way to build a team around Doncic. He's on a 1-year contract though, whereas AD has still got 2 years left on his contract. So this is going to be a really interesting season to see what ends up happening with both of their teams. Can Doncic carry the Lakers on his back pretty much with this roster, or find some pieces along the way to get them through the regular season and try and get themselves a good spot through the playoffs? So Jokic is going to go ahead and win himself the MVP award, almost putting up a triple-double throughout the regular season over there. Cooper Flag getting Rookie of the Year. Derek Lively II getting Sixth Man of the Year for that Dallas Mavericks lineup. Wemby, of course, Defensive Player of the Year. And Doncic getting Clutch Player of the Year, putting up pretty much similar numbers to Nikola Jokic, 31, 8 and 8. In fact, if you go back to Jokic over there, MVP voting must have been extremely close between the two. Doncic putting up basically 6 more points than Jokic throughout the regular season, but then only 2 less rebounds than him over there, which would have been fairly close. We got the Spurs going 57 wins throughout the season with Wemby and, of course, Greg Popovich over there. But you got Doncic in the first team, which is going to be interesting for the LA Lakers. If we keep going through the other teams over here, the third team and the second team aren't going to have anyone from either the Lakers or, of course, the Dallas Mavericks. If we go into the defensive team as well, AD is going to find himself in the all-defensive second team, now at a 94 overall with the Mavericks. Let's go ahead and take a look at how both teams did throughout the regular season. We'll start things off with the Mavericks this time around, and we'll go down to AD to see what he's been putting up. He's putting up 20, 10, and 3 pretty much. A little bit down on what he was last season, of course, halfway through the season, switching to the Dallas Mavericks over there. But not a bad season for the Mavericks overall. They are going to pick up the 3rd seed in the Western Conference, whereas the LA Lakers are not going to be in the playoffs at all. They're not going to get the play-in tournament spot. They are going to sit at 43 wins throughout the season. Doncic, of course, we saw put up ridiculous numbers, but as we mentioned earlier, that roster around him is not great. Austin Reeves has gone up 1 overall to an 84. Dalton's going to be pretty good through a couple more years, probably. Rui Hachimura at the small forward spot. They're really losing out on the big men when it comes to this team, with no real power forward or center at this point. But let's see whether Dallas can go one step further than they did last year and actually go ahead and win themselves a championship ring. The LA Lakers have, of course, been eliminated. They were actually in the play-in tournament, 9th seed, my bad, but they didn't actually make it through at that time at all, losing to the Memphis Grizzlies. Even though Doncic put up 36, 9, and 5, he can't carry the Lakers through that play-in tournament. So let's see what Dallas can do against the New Orleans Pelicans over here. We'll simulate through game 1, which is going to go to the Pelicans. Actually 1-1 though, as Dallas fight back to take game 3 as well to put them up 2-1. 2-2. The Pelicans are not making this easy. 3-2 now for Dallas, and the Pelicans are going to send this somehow to a game 7 between the two over here. So let's see what ends up happening between Dallas and the Pelicans. Can Dallas Mavericks make it through the first round this time of the playoffs? It's not looking likely, as they are falling further and further behind, and they're actually going to get eliminated to the New Orleans Pelicans. What the heck went on in that final game? We'll check the box score. Anthony Davis 15, 8, and 3. Gafford down there at 14 points. Hardy 18, 5, and 6. But Zion, 30 points for him and 17 boards is absolutely ridiculous. So they somehow find a way to beat them Dallas Mavericks. We'll just simulate the rest of the playoffs to see what happens. The Spurs Pistons are going to make it to the final. Cade Cunningham coming up against Wembanyama. It's going to be a close one, but the Spurs are going to take it with that insane regular season record. Wemby getting himself finals MVP, and both Luka and Anthony Davis not doing too well throughout the season. Although Doncic has been playing well on his own, the team around him not so much. So we'll go ahead and try and get through the regular season, the off-season, to see if any changes have been made. I think Doncic had 1 year left on his contract, so he could maybe make a move somewhere else, or maybe he stays with the LA Lakers. We'll just have to wait and see. I think AD has 2 years left on his contract, so this will be his last season on that contract with the Mavericks. We'll get through the free agency, see what ends up happening. We'll check the player progression. AD down to a 91 overall, which isn't great. And yeah, it does look like Luka Doncic has left. We got Bronny James Jr. up to a 76 overall for the Lakers. We got the Spurs signing Trae Young over there, and Doncic going over to Sacramento over there. He's signed to a 4-year contract, which isn't bad at all. Dame re-signing with the Bucks. Jaren Jackson Jr. going over to the Jazz. A lot of interesting trades throughout this offseason, but most importantly is going to be Luka Doncic going over to the Sacramento Kings. So we'll go ahead and advance to the next season. I got to change what teams I'm looking at. I'm not looking at the Lakers now. We are going to focus on the Sacramento Kings. Let's check out this Kings roster to see who they've got. They got Doncic and Sabonis with Pascal Siakam as well. This is looking like a very well-rounded team. You've still got Marcus Smart and Keegan Murray there as well, which isn't bad at all. And at least he's found himself some size with the power forward Siakam and, of course, Sabonis there at the center spot. So this is looking like a very, very strong team for the Kings. Of course, Dallas pretty much stayed the same as last season. AD, 1 year left on his contract. We're going to have to wait and see what happens. He's 33 at this point, 91 overall, whereas Doncic is 94 overall and 27 years of age. So let's simulate the regular season. So we got Anthony Edwards this time around getting himself the MVP award. Without Doncic on the Mavericks, it's giving other players a chance to really get that MVP award this time around, which is really interesting to see. What else have we got for awards? Wemby, of course, Defensive Player of the Year. Boogie Fland over there getting himself most improved player. Ja Morant, clutch player of the year, 26, 5 and 9 for him. The Timberwolves going 62 wins throughout the season, which is pretty good. You got Luka Doncic though, at least making that all NBA first team, still at a 96 overall with the Kings. Has AD made any of the all NBA teams? Unfortunately not over here, but has he made the defensive teams? At least he has. He's in that second team over there, up to a 92 overall with, of course, the Dallas Mavericks. Let's take a look at how both teams are doing. The Kings over here, Doncic, he is going to put up okay numbers compared to last year, pretty much on par with what he did the year before that, with that sort of transition season between the Mavericks and, of course, the LA Lakers, putting up 29, 9 and 8 for him, which is still a very good stat line. But unfortunately, the Kings are not even going to make the playoffs this time around, which is a real shame considering how good their team actually was. They are the 10th seed, so they have got a very small chance that they make it through. Dallas somehow getting the 3rd seed in the Western Conference, which is absolutely nuts. What went 51 wins throughout the season. Anthony Davis 17, dropping off from last season again in terms of his production, but it just looks like the rest of the team really stepped up for them. Derek Lively up to an 87 overall, Hardy up to an 82, Christie up to an 82 overall as well. Maybe it's just the Mavericks team that are just OP in 2K. No matter who they've got on the roster, they're doing absolutely nuts. But we've got the Kings versus the Golden State Warriors here in the play-in tournament. Are they going to make it through? Unfortunately not. The Golden State Warriors are going to go ahead and beat the Kings. You had Steph Curry putting up 29, Flander up 30 points. Curry's still in the league at this point, which is nuts. Doncic 30 points, Sabonis 27, and they still didn't make it through. That's absolutely ridiculous. But let's keep going through. We got Dallas versus Memphis over here. Can they go ahead and get out of the first round? It looks like they're going to sweep the Memphis Grizzlies there in 4 games. We got Lively putting up 22, AD all the way down 8, 9 and 1. But he's got good guys around him to get the job done when he doesn't show up. So now they're up against Houston. They are the 2nd seed in that Western Conference compared to Dallas's 3rd seed. And they're definitely not going to make this an easy series between the two teams. It's 2-2 at the moment. 3-2 to the Houston Rockets. Are the Dallas Mavericks going to make it through this series or not? We'll just go ahead and simulate this one. They do need to win this one if they want to find themselves through to the conference semi-finals. It's looking very close, or I said that a bit too early, but it's not looking that close at the moment. And the Dallas Mavericks are going to go home 136 to 128 there. It was a little bit close here and there in parts, but it wasn't overall. 4-2 over there as Houston go ahead and take the series. If you take a look at the Mavericks, AD again down 14, 8 and 0 for him, but the team around him are still doing fairly good. So we got Houston up against Sacramento. Sacramento Kings again finding themselves in the final against Paolo Banchero and the Orlando Magic, and the Spurs are going to take back-to-back championships with Wemby getting himself finals MVP. So let's see what happens through this offseason. Are there going to be any other changes? I think the only one we probably are going to see is AD moving on, but the regression is hitting hard for him. He's going up in age, and of course the overall is going to drop for him. Luka Doncic is comfortable now with his 4-year contract, but the players just need to put in a bit of work around him and somehow find a way to get them back into the playoffs, because I would have thought with a team on paper around him, they would be able to make the playoffs, but it was not the case last season around him. And the Mavericks have gone ahead and completely ripped up their roster over here. You still got Derek Lively, so they have pretty much just got rid of AD. I'll be interested to see where he's gone. The Kings have pretty much stayed the same. Doncic now at 95, Sabonis down 1 to 88, Siakam still at 86, and on paper this team should do very well, although Siakam's only got 1 year left on his contract, so is Sabonis. So we're going to have to wait and see what happens with those guys as we get through to the next season. We got to find out where AD went. So AD has somehow managed to find themselves back on the LA Lakers team. That is absolutely nuts. He's at an 89 overall, aged 34 now. What's that LA Lakers team actually looking like at this time through the simulation? We'll just go ahead and find them. AD's going to headline the team at an 89 overall. They got Desmond Bane here at an 88 overall, Coulibaly an 88, Sharp at an 86, Ayman at an 82, Bronny James Jr. at the point guard spot. He's actually the starting point guard at an 81 overall, which is nuts. He's only got 1 year left on his contract, but Bronny James is going to play with AD. Can it be like LeBron and AD? We'll just have to wait and see. So Brunson's going to win the MVP award, putting up 32, 2 and 7 for him. Wemby getting another Defensive Player of the Year trophy, and the Knicks going 60 wins throughout the regular season. Doncic again staying in that All-NBA first team. AD's not going to be in the second team or the third team this time around over here. He's not even going to make any of the all defensive teams as well. The regression is most probably hitting hard for him as we go through and take a look at what the teams are looking like. So the Kings are going to find themselves as the 7th seed in the Western Conference. So they are going to have to go through the play-in tournament. They got OKC, Denver, and Utah over there. The LA Lakers are nowhere to be seen in that Western Conference. They had 56 losses throughout the regular season. Bronny James putting up 10, 4, and 5. Not great for him at all. Anthony Davis here dropping off again very, very badly, down to 13, 8, and 3 for him. And he doesn't really have any supporting players around him who can put up some big numbers for the team. You can see Desmond Bane's the highest rated player on the team, and he was putting up 16 points, which is less than what he had last year with Memphis, and of course switching to the Lakers over here. He's at a 90 overall, which isn't bad at all, but they haven't really got that superstar on their team to try and bring them through the playoffs over there. There is still a good chance that the King can make it through the play-in tournament. It will simulate through, and they have managed to find themselves as the 7th seed. They're up against the New Orleans Pelicans. We saw how good the Pelicans could be in a game. They got Zion Ingram, Ace Bailey, DeJounte Murray, and Walker Kessler over here. Although the Kings have got a very strong team, and I've said this already, they have got that good team on paper, but let's see what they can do in the playoffs itself. We'll simulate through this series. Kings are going to take game 1 and game 2 to put them up 2-0 in this series. The Pelicans are fighting back though to win game 3, but game 4 is going to go to the Kings, and game 5 is going to the Kings to win them that series. Let's check the box score over here. Ingram 20 points, Zion 19, Doncic stepping up 22, 9, and 9 for him. Siakam on 20, and Keegan Murray there on 16 points for him. So we got Houston up against Sacramento. This is going to be a tough one. The Houston Rockets were good last season, and look at that team. Sengun, Thompson, Whitmore, Riley, and of course Jalen Green. Half of their team above 90 overall in this game. So let's see what they can do in this one over here. We'll simulate through the first game, which is going to go to the Rockets. This is not looking good for the Sacramento Kings. Game 2 going to the Rockets. Game 3 going to the Kings, though, trying to find something back as they tie up the series 2-2. The Rockets taking game 5, though, to put them up 3-2, and the Kings are going to be eliminated there in 6 games. Was it even close? Not really. 122 to 113. Doncic 26, 7, and 10, trying to help his team out, but unfortunately is not a match for this Rockets team. They are just so stacked with the depth over here, and they're going to go through to the next round where they're coming up against the Memphis Grizzlies, who took down Golden State. Steph Curry is still playing basketball here in the NBA. 27 points for him. Wiggins on 17. The Jamorant and Fox both going for 24. So we'll go ahead and simulate the rest. It's going to be a Grizzlies Magic final. The Spurs not actually making it through the first round against the Golden State Warriors, but the Grizzlies are going to take it in 6 as Jamorant get himself a Finals MVP award, which isn't bad at all. So it's not looking good for any teams involved in this trade. The Kings have gone out in that second round. They were improved on last season. The LA Lakers are absolutely abysmal this season, and the Dallas Mavericks are nowhere to be seen. If we take a look at the standings, where did they end up going? They were down here as the 24th best team. The Lakers, the 28th best team in these power rankings over here. So it's not looking good for a lot of the teams involved in this trade, as sort of the ripple effect from the first initial trade where we had Luka Doncic going over to the LA Clippers. But let's get through the offseason to see if anything has happened for anyone involved in this at all. Whether there's been any big changes or not, we'll just wait and see. Not really too many changes in terms of who's getting signed where. Bronny James is going over to the Clippers, though. He's had enough of being with AD in LA. Darius Garland is going to the Warriors. It's going to be interesting to see what happens with the Warriors. Jarrett McCain going to the 76ers. Has Steph Curry actually retired this time around, or is he still going to play one more season in the NBA? Let's take a look. It is saying that he has retired, so that is ridiculous for him. He's played 19 years in the league, which isn't bad at all. So is KD, 19 years. I'm not too sure when he actually went ahead and retired itself, but I think Steph probably has his jersey retired as well. Let's take a look at that. He probably does. Yep, there we go. 2009 to 2028. That is a very long career for Steph Curry. Dame has also got his jersey retired up to 2023 with, of course, the Portland Trailblazers. But let's go ahead, advance to next season. AD didn't go anywhere, neither did Luka Doncic. So let's see what the Kings can put together for their roster, and of course take a look at what the LA Clippers can do for their roster as well. We're going into 2028 to 29 season. Take a look at both of these rosters over here. The Kings have got rid of Pascal Siakam and of course Sabonis, so that's going to be a big blow for them in terms of their team, but maybe things just weren't really working out for them. The LA Lakers over here haven't really got that star power. Desmond Bain down to an 87. I don't know why he shot up to a 90, now he's down to an 87. Coulibaly up to a 90 overall for him. So they got a decent roster around them. Not really a great point guard for the team, but well, let's see what happens. Wemby getting himself a MVP award finally. It's taken quite a while for him to actually get one over here. 25, 13, and 5 for him. What else have we got throughout all the teams? We got Wemby also winning the Defensive Player of the Year trophy. The LA Lakers are going to get the Rookie of the Year, and the Dallas Mavericks the Sixth Man of the Year. LA Lakers also getting Most Improved Players. Maybe the LA Lakers actually played well this season compared to last season. The Bulls going 64 wins throughout the regular season. Doncic still in that All-NBA first team alongside Jokic, Wemby, Cooper Flag, and Ja Morant over there. Have we got anyone else in any of the other teams making the All-NBA teams? It's not looking likely though, and AD is not going to find himself anywhere through the all-defensive teams at all. So let's take a look at the standings though for both teams. The LA Lakers, 58 losses throughout the regular season. Not great at all. AD again downgraded to an 89 overall with a pretty poor stat line considering last season as well. And we did see some improvement from the team, as you saw with some of the awards. They're actually getting up in terms of overalls fairly nicely. You got 4 players above 89 overall, but I guess the depth is just not there at all. As you can see, 79 all the way down to 70 overall players over there. So not great for the LA Lakers. They're not going to be in the play-in tournament at all. Over here, the Dallas Mavericks, though, are going to be the 9th seed, and the Sacramento Kings are also not going to find themselves in the play-in tournament or the playoffs. 48 losses throughout the regular season. Doncic has been playing pretty well. His scoring has gone up from last season up to 28, 9, and 9 for him, up to a 95 overall. They got Caden Boozer over here. Keegan Murray's still on the team, but it's not really looking like a filled out roster compared to some of the other teams you got in the NBA. Let's take a look at the San Antonio Spurs for an example. They are the 1st seed in the Western Conference. They have, of course, got Trae Young on their team, Stephen Castle, Vassell, Williams, and 99 overall Victor Wembanyama. A stacked team for them over there. It's becoming to the point where you have to have some really high overall players to actually go ahead and compete with the likes of these teams. But somehow, I just saw the Spurs go out in the first round after gassing up their team over there. We got Zion taking Western Conference Finals MVP, AJ getting himself Eastern Conference Finals MVP. What happened in this series? Portland found a way to go ahead and topple the San Antonio Spurs. Wemby down that low on the score sheet, 8, 3, and 1 for him. Trae Young on 29, Williams on 25, and Burry's on 24. Whereas 41 points for Fernie Simmons is not bad at all for him. But they did only get one step further before they got knocked out by OKC, who also got knocked out by the New Orleans Pelicans. So we got the Pelicans versus the Magic, as the Magic go ahead and take it. Paolo Banchero there getting finals MVP. So things are still not looking great for AD, Luka Doncic, any of the players or teams involved in the original trade itself. We'll go ahead and simulate to the next season to see if anything changes at all. I think Doncic has probably got quite a few years left in him playing at this level, but hopefully he can get himself back into the playoffs. I think he's probably regretting taking a 4-year contract with the Kings. He probably would have been better off going for a sort of 1-year, maybe 2-year contract even with the Kings, and then maybe gone elsewhere to try and get himself another ring. But let's see what ends up happening through the offseason, see if there's any big moves at all. We're going into the 29 to 2030 season, which is absolutely nuts. Doncic really hasn't got a huge amount of help. He's gone up to 96, which is +1 on his overall. This is his last year on that Kings contract. The LA Lakers still got AD down to an 85 overall. He's 36 years old now, but he's still there in LA. They got 2 90 overalls, of course, Ayman and Coulibaly. So let's see what happens. The MVP award is really hopping around between players, as Cameron Boozer has now got it. 22, 10, and 6 for him. Have we got anyone else getting any awards? Wemby, of course, getting Defensive Player of the Year award. Ja Morant, Clutch Player of the Year. And the Bulls going 73 wins throughout the regular season. Doncic still there in that All-NBA first team with the Kings, but he's not really going to get himself the MVP award. I don't think he's got himself any MVP awards through this simulation, which is really, really rare to see. Hayden Boozer is going to get themselves in the All-NBA third team as well with the Kings, so maybe that's going to help the Kings get through the playoffs this time around. What are they in terms of seeding? They're not actually going to make the playoffs at all. Neither are the LA Lakers, which is a real shame to see. Let's take a look at the standings. The Lakers, an awful season. 68 losses throughout the regular season is absolutely ridiculous. Let's see how badly AD played this time around. His numbers actually went slightly up from last season, up to 12.7 rebounds and 2 assists over there. It can't be too long before he actually goes ahead and retired. He's 37 years old now, which isn't great. The Kings 50 losses as well throughout the regular season for them. Doncic is on a 1-year contract, so he's probably going to go somewhere else, hopefully, to try and find a better team. I think it's just the depth on this team that's just not there. AD, he's also got 1 year left on his contract, so he could go somewhere else or he could retire altogether. The playoffs, let's see what ends up happening through this playoff round. Is it going to be Spurs making it through to the finals this time? No, it's going to be Ja Morant leading the Grizzlies and Cameron Boozer leading the Chicago Bulls to the final. Are the Bulls going to take it? They are. 5 games it took them to go ahead and win the championship. Cameron Boozer finals MVP award for him. So let's get through the offseason to see if anyone has gone ahead and retired. Has AD gone and retired? It's not looking like he has, actually, which is really interesting. So we're going to have to go ahead and see what happens during the free agency to see where players get signed. So Anthony Davis is going to find himself being in the free agency. So it's going to be interesting to see where he actually ends up going. But the Bucks have gone ahead and signed Luka Doncic, which is absolutely ridiculous. He's pairing up with Giannis Antetokounmpo with that team, and that is looking like a very strong team. But I said that last time when he joined the Kings, and they didn't really make it through anywhere. Particular Bronny James Jr. is somehow finding himself playing with Luka Doncic at the Bucks. He's played with AD and LeBron, and now he's playing with Doncic as well, again on the Bucks team, which is absolutely nuts. This team should make the playoffs, and if they don't, there is something very wrong. Doncic has also signed a 4-year contract with this team, so he's going to be sticking around for a while. Let's see where AD ends up going if we just simulate through a couple more games to see if he's gone anywhere, whether anyone's decided to pick him up, or whether he's just going to stay in the free agency. I'm not really sure how that sort of stuff works in the NBA. I'm still on the Kings, which I do need to switch to the Bucks, of course, to see what they do. Hopefully, the record will look a lot better than this because they are losing 9 games so far, 10 games, 11 games, no, okay, 11-3 is going to be their record through the first couple of rounds of the season. Anthony Davis is just going to stay in the free agency. Is looking like he's at an 81 overall. Surely he has to retire at the end of the season if no one goes ahead and picks him up. But we'll go ahead and switch our team so we can go ahead and take a look at the Bucks instead of the Kings, because that record is really hurting my eyes. Boozer going back-to-back for his MVP awards this time around. Have we got Wemby getting Defensive Player of the Year? Of course we do. He's going to win that award again. 67 wins for the Chicago Bulls. Luka Doncic second in that MVP race, it's looking like, as he takes the second spot there in that All-NBA first team. Did Giannis make any of the All-NBA teams? Unfortunately not. So the Bucks are just going to have one All-NBA player. And defensively, Giannis is also not making any of those teams either. But are the Bucks actually in the playoffs? Let's take a look at the East. They are going to be the 6th seed. And I actually thought they'd do a little bit better than they did. 42 wins and 40 losses over there. We had Doncic putting up some good numbers, 28, 6, and 10. I'm not really too sure how he didn't win the MVP award this time around over Cameron Boozer. Antetokounmpo putting up some okay numbers, 14, 6, and 6. A little bit down from last season, but of course he's sharing the ball with, of course, Luka Doncic. The team itself played fairly decently, and as I said, I thought they'd do a little bit better than they did, but at least they're in the playoffs. AD, I think he's still nowhere to be seen, but we will go ahead and take a look at the play-in tournament, just simulate that to see what ends up happening. So we got Washington Wizards up against the Milwaukee Bucks. The Wizards have got a very strong roster. Blimey, they've got 3 90+ overall players, including Alexandra Starr over there and a Dylan Harper at 95 overall. So let's see whether the Bucks can make it through this playoff series. They have got a very strong team, so hopefully they can do it. Although the Wizards are going to take game 1 and game 2 to put them up 2-0 in this series. Game 3 also going to the Wizards. What's going on in this series? Let's check the box score. Bronny James Jr. second on the box score. Antetokounmpo down there with 11, 8, and 8. But Doncic putting up 28, 8, and 11. Bronny James 19, 3, and 6. The Wizards 22, 16, 15, 15. So they are sharing the rock a little bit, getting those buckets in. But let's see what happens as we hop on the sim card. So it's a must-win game for the Bucks. So they're going home in round 1 of the playoffs. So Doncic would have made the playoffs and then gone out in round 1 if the Bucks do not win this game. And it is looking fairly close over here. Oh, no, not particularly. They've run away with it, 118 to 112, and they're going to get eliminated in the very first round of the playoffs. So let's see what happens through the rest of it. I think it's probably going to be a Bulls final. Yep, the Bulls are going to make the final with Jokic leading the Nuggets to the finals as well. But the Bulls are going to take it in 6. Cameron Boozer, finals MVP for him. So Doncic played a bit better than he did last season. AD, nowhere to be seen this season. And he is going to go ahead and retire at 81 overall. He didn't really get to play last season at all with any teams. So let's see what Doncic can do. He's still got 4 years left on the contract with the Bucks. Hopefully things are going to go a bit better for him this time around and get a bit further through the playoffs themselves. So Cameron Boozer's getting himself another MVP award over there, putting up a very good stat line. Wemby, another defensive player of the year trophy. I don't think anyone's going to take that title away from him in this simulation. The Bulls, again, a very good season for them, 57 wins throughout the regular season. Doncic, again, putting up some very strong numbers, 27, 7, and 11 for him. A little bit down on scoring, but then the rebounds and assists have picked up as well. And compared to Cameron Boozer, I'm not sure why he's not winning these MVP awards. Look, he's beating Boozer on the scoring by about 3 points. On the rebounds, Boozer's 9.7 to 7.4. Yeah, Doncic falls off a little bit, but the assists, there's about a 5 assist difference between the two. So I'm not really too sure why Luka Doncic is not getting the MVP award over Cameron Boozer. Maybe it's because he's not on the Dallas Mavericks and the game is not sitting right with that at all. All defensive teams, there's not going to be any mention of Antetokounmpo on that. The Bulls are going to have Cameron Boozer again in that all defensive second team though. So let's take a look at how the Bucks have got on this season. And unfortunately, they've lost 57 games, which I don't really understand when you've got Doncic and Antetokounmpo on the same team. Let's take a look at this. You got Doncic on a 96, Antetokounmpo on a 93, Christie on a 92, Leonard on an 89 overall. This team is very, very strong if you look at their starting 5, and even beyond that, they have got some decent players, but somehow they've managed to lose 57 games, which doesn't really make a lot of sense when it comes to 2K at all. So they're not going to make the playoffs at all, which I don't really understand. That's been a couple of times now where we've seen the team on paper be absolutely amazing, but it just not work out at all for some reason whatsoever. So Stokes is going to get him Eastern Conference Finals MVP for the Bulls. Boogie Flag over there somehow getting Western Conference Finals MVP with that stat line, 14, 5, and 7. Considering the stat lines we've seen before, that is a little bit of a surprise. They beat Denver in 7 games over here. As you can see, 19-19, McCain on 31 points. It was a very tight game, 113 to 110 over there. But let's get through the playoffs to see who's going to take it. It's probably going to be the Bulls. No, it's going to be the Golden State Warriors pulling off an upset. Cameron Boozer getting Finals MVP, even though his team lost in the finals. Boozer putting up 30, 13, and 7. Boogie Flant over here, 18 points. I don't know how the Warriors managed to win this by 5 points, but they somehow did. They have got that depth on their team, but I don't know what's going wrong with Luka Doncic and the Milwaukee Bucks. Surely, on paper, they should be getting to at least the playoff, not losing more games than they are winning. So I don't really know what's going on at the moment. Bucks have gone ahead and lost Antetokounmpo for their team. They've actually lost quite a few players now, so this is a massive downgrade for them as Doncic is going to headline the team, of course, 94 overall at 33 years of age for him. Has there been any other big moves throughout the season? It's not really looking likely. Cameron Boozer still on that Chicago Bulls team, which is absolutely ridiculous at this point. Where did Antetokounmpo actually end up going, or did he just flat out retire? It looks like he might have retired. It's still going down. I think it was quite high in terms of overall. So keep going down through all of these players to see if we can find him. And yeah, I actually think he must have retired because he's not showing up on this list at all. So I think this is going to be a worse season for the Bucks. I don't know how many games they're actually going to go ahead and lose. They've lost the first one. Are they going to beat Detroit Pistons? It's getting stuck on October 23rd here. There we go. They've lost that one. They lose another one and another one. This losing streak is just continuing. Well, you know what? We'll see when they actually finally win a game, if the game wants to load at all. They've lost another one. Again, losing. That's 3 weeks in a row of just straight losing games. Losing to the Nuggets as well. Pelicans, Hornets. What is going on with this team? Boozer 3 years in a row getting the MVP award. What else have we got for awards? Wembanyama, again, a defensive player of the year. The Dallas Mavericks, 64 wins throughout the season, so they're playing well without Doncic on their team. Doncic is going to make the first team, again, just behind Cameron Boozer. Let's take his stat line over here. Again, improving slightly and not improving on the assists over there, down by 2, but the rebounds up by 2, and then points per game at 27.7. How is he not winning the MVP award over Cameron Boozer? The assist is the major difference between the two. As you can see over there, 8 compared to 5. I don't know why he's not winning the awards. The Bucks, as we saw at the start of the season, awful record. 11 wins and 71 losses has to be an achievement in itself. That's probably the worst record in the NBA ever. That is actually awful. 95 overall for Doncic. He's gone up by 1 overall. He's still got 2 years left on his contract, which is absolutely nuts. But yeah, I don't understand how this Bucks team has gone so badly. And the thing is, if Luka Doncic had stayed with the Mavericks, he probably still would be on that team. And they're ranked first at the moment in the Western Conference, which is absolutely nuts. We'll take a look at their team actually, or at least their starting five as they come up against Denver in the first round. Who have they got on their team? They got Devin Booker somehow on their team and a bunch of other guys above 90 overall. So they got a very, very strong team. And there's a reason why they're the first seed in the Western Conference. They're probably actually going to go ahead, or they'll be my favorites to go ahead and win the whole thing. They're going to make it to the finals against Cameron Boozer's Bulls. This is going to be a tough one, but the Bulls somehow find a way to take it. Stokes getting himself finals MVP. But things are not going well for Luka Doncic, and this is a very different career to what we have seen previously when we've actually gone ahead and simulated through the regular seasons with Doncic still on the Mavericks. He's been winning MVPs when we've been simulating through that stuff. But on this simulation, after the trade, things have not looked like they have been going well at all for Doncic at all. And we saw AD's career pretty much dwindle into nothing by the end of that one. Let's see whether the Bucks made any transfers at all to get themselves into playoff contention, or at least just improve their regular season record from what it is at the moment, because at the moment it's not good at all. And Doncic, of course, 2 years left on his contract. This is going to be the last year. Hopefully he stays with the Bucks unless they find some pieces to try and get him back to the playoffs. Otherwise, he's probably going to leave, and I would do, if I was him, off of this roster to try and get somewhere else. All right, let's take a look at this roster to see if there's anything being improved, and it's not looking likely. It's looking exactly the same. Doncic now down to a 92 overall because 1 year left on his contract. He's 34 years of age. We're probably going to get hit by a lot of losses through this season, but how many games is this team going to lose? And the answer is an absolutely ridiculous amount of games they can lose. So Wembanyama is getting Defensive Player of the Year. Cameron Boozer also got himself the MVP award as well. The Warriors still have Steve Kerr, and he's winning 58 games throughout the regular season. Doncic second in that MVP race in the All-NBA first team at 93 overall at age 35. But the Milwaukee Bucks, 6 wins throughout the season. How is that even possible? The 76 losses is ridiculous for this team. They have an absolute superstar in Luka Doncic. His numbers have dropped off a little bit from last season, putting up 26, 9, and 9 for him with a bit of generous rounding. 16 years of pro, 35 years of age, and yet he is only leading this team to 6 games being won throughout the season. This is absolutely ridiculous. I don't think I've ever seen this before in a 2K simulation. But let's go ahead and just simulate the playoffs, see where Luka Doncic ends up going at the end of the season. My money's probably on, or it would have been on, the Bulls, but they're not going to be in the playoffs finals at all. We got Quinton Wilson there for the Pelicans, getting himself Western Conference Finals MVP. CJ Rosser, Eastern Conference Finals MVP. A 76ers Pelicans final, with the 76ers taking that in 6 games. So let's go ahead, get into the offseason, see what ends up happening through the free agency, see where Doncic actually goes ahead and signs. Hopefully he goes on to a good team, because I think if he just has a couple of good players around him, they should be able to get themselves into a good spot come the playoffs, considering how good he is still playing. Even though I think the regression is around the corner, it should be coming up pretty soon, but we're just gonna have to wait and see what ends up happening. And we have Doncic going over to the Houston Rockets, where he's definitely not the best player on this roster at all, and they have got some very good players, very high overalls on this team, though it's not looking like they've got themselves a good center at all. Their best one being 73 overall. Maybe a power forward will play at that center spot for them. If we just take a look at the coach plan over here, you can see, actually no, we've got a 72 overall center, but the rest of the guys absolutely ridiculous. 95, 95, 93, 91, and Doncic is going to have to come off the bench for this team. So this is going to be a really interesting one to see what ends up happening with this team. Hopefully it means Doncic can maybe make his way back into the playoffs, but we'll have to wait and see. It's looking like an interesting start to the season, though. Maybe it's going to pick up through the rest of it. Boozer's run of MVPs has come to an end, as Rosser has got it with 27, 10, and 5 for him. Wemby again getting another Defensive Player of the Year trophy. The Bucks having the most improved player and the Rookie of the Year. We've seen this before with another team, I think, when one of either AD or Doncic did immediately leave. Dallas Mavericks getting Clutch Player of the Year over there. Unfortunately though, Luka Doncic is not going to make the All-NBA first team. Rosser's a 99 overall. You got a 97 overall, 98, 99 overall for Stokes, and a 96 overall Edgecombe. But unfortunately, Doncic is not in the second team either or in that third team at all, which is a little bit of a shame. But the Rockets themselves have done, of course, better than the Milwaukee Bucks. That wasn't really a tough challenge at all. We had a decent roster for this team. Of course, Luka Doncic has probably hit the regression. You can see the numbers have dropped off a lot, although he was coming off the bench for this team, and he is down in terms of overall. So 46 wins throughout the season does give the Rockets a chance in the playoffs. They are the 6th seed coming up against the Golden State Warriors. So they are the 3rd seed in this thing. Let's check out their team. They have got a very, very strong team. Pretty much all their starters above 90 overall. Although the Rockets have pretty much matched them at every single position except for that center spot with a 72 overall Sebastian Hughes. So this is going to be a very interesting one. Hopefully the Rockets can go ahead and win it, although they're going to get swept. What is going on with this simulation? The Rockets getting swept 4-0 by Golden State. We had Andrews putting up 38 points for the Rockets, but Flan putting up 32, a Cuff for 22, and Alfred Sengun for 20 points over there. Luka Doncic coming off the bench for 19, 5, and 6 for the team. Is not bad at all for him, but considering the rest of his numbers, Dallas are going to go out to the Warriors, and the Warriors are making it to the final against the Magic, but they're going to lose in 5 to the Orlando Magic, who are going to take that series. And Doncic at this point is just sort of hopping between teams. He's now on the Boston Celtics, and again, they don't have a good center at all on their roster. They got Hunter there at the center spot, a 74 overall. I did miss Hood over here, 77 overall center. So not a bad team. They have, of course, got some very good players on their roster. And they started off the season very well with a 6-0 record. Is that going to stay being a win streak, or are they going to lose? The next one against the Hornets is stuck on the game. They win that one, against the Portland Trail Blazers, beat the Knicks, but unfortunately they lose against the Raptors. So this is looking like a strong start to the season for the Boston Celtics. Let's see what happens with Doncic's season. And the Celtics are going to do much better than the Houston Rockets. They're going to take the 3rd seed in the Eastern Conference over here, putting up 54 wins throughout the regular season. Let's take a look at how Doncic did through this season. The numbers have, of course, dropped off quite significantly from when he was putting up 28 points back in that 2020 to 31 season. He's now down to 11 points, 4 rebounds, and 6 assists a game, playing a decent role in this team. And nonetheless, he probably would be coming off the bench for the team. But the Boston Celtics are the 3rd seed. They're up against the Cleveland Cavaliers, who took the 6th seed. Can Doncic get himself a ring? Because I don't think he's got one at all throughout this video. Cleveland, though, are going 2-0 up in the series. Boston taking game 3 to close the lead a little bit, although Cleveland winning game 4 to put them up 3-1 in the series. We're going to hop in the Simcast because it is a must-win game for the Celtics, and I'd love to see Doncic at least make it through the first round of the playoffs. It looks like they're making the home court advantage count, and they're going to take that game fairly comfortably, 129 to 89 over there. So we got 3-2 in the series. It's another must-win game for the Boston Celtics. Let's see what happens in this one. And the Boston Celtics again running away with this one fairly comfortably as well, 131 to 120 to force this to a game number 7. So let's go back into the Simcast for this game 7. The Celtics are at home in this game, so hopefully they can make that home court advantage count and actually get the win. They're pulling away through the 3rd quarter and into that 4th quarter, 149 to 116. They've turned it around and they've got through to the next round, as you can see. Luka Doncic, a decent stat line, 26 and 10 for him is not bad at all. Their top scorer on 28 points. Leonard and Dudley both on 28 for the Cavs, but it's not enough to beat the Boston Celtics, who are now coming up against the Brooklyn Nets in this one. And what the heck is that team? A 96 and a 97 overall player on that Brooklyn Nets team. This is not going to be easy. They are the 2nd seed for a reason. The first game going to the Brooklyn Nets, the second game also going to the Nets. Can the Boston Celtics pull off another big comeback? They're 3-1 down. We've seen this before. We're going to go into the Simcast. Hopefully they can win this one. It's a must-win game, but they are away in this one over here. 2nd quarter is very close at the moment, although the Nets are pulling away a little bit through the 4th quarter, and it's not really looking that close. Can the Celtics pull it back a little bit more? Unfortunately not. 122 to 108, and that sees the Boston Celtics lose in the 2nd round. Cooper Flag now on the Dallas Mavericks team. That would have been a really interesting pairing, Cooper Flag and Doncic on the same team. But somehow the Mavericks are going to win themselves a championship. They only had to wait until 2036 to finally win one without Doncic. But we're going to go ahead, sim through to the next season. I don't know whether Doncic will retire at some point. Probably got maybe like 1 or 2 seasons left, so I'll probably go through these seasons a little bit quicker. And it looks like Luka Doncic actually went ahead and retired at the end of that season. I must have missed it going through the offseason, because I thought he might have at least one or more seasons left in the tank. But unfortunately, he's called it quits, and that is the end of that one over there. So that trade did not look like it helped anyone out at all in this simulation, whether it be short term or long term. It didn't really help Luka. It didn't help AD. It definitely didn't help the Lakers do anything special in the playoffs. The Mavericks took until 2038 to finally win themselves a championship. So it's going to be really interesting to see what happens with this trade and how it plans out in real life. Let me know what you think about the trade itself in the comments down below. If you want to go check out what Shaquille O'Neal would look like if he played in the modern NBA, I put him up against the likes of Wemby and of course Antetokounmpo. Go check out the video in the bottom left hand corner, and I'll see you guys in that one. Peace.